it should be recording. Yes, it is. Okay, you can see it on the. Okay, hello everyone. This is histology. Okay, 4810. This is the lecture component, and this is our first lecture. So we're talking about the big picture. We want to understand what is histology about. And so far we had a contribution from a class member that said, well, histology is the study of tissues. And tissues are somewhere between cells and organs, right? Cells are the individual units, and they're associated with each other, and they form tissues. And then tissues associate with each other and form larger organs. So it might seem like we're kind of at this intermediate size phase, but I actually think histology is extremely important. And I think understanding the tissue level is a big deal, and I'm going to explain why here. Okay, firstly, we're saying in some of the other disciplines, such things like genetics, you know, great study. It has to do with DNA and the expression of DNA to make RNA and eventually proteins. And so there's a lot that's been done in genetics, a lot of advancements in genetics. You know, one of the things that's happened over the last few years is the entire DNA sequence of humans has been completed. So what does that mean, that the entire DNA sequence is now known for humans? I mean, what are the implications of that? What do you think?
I mean, we can start identifying clear genetic abnormalities, where things go wrong. Diseases often carry a certain preliminary or predisposition, genetic predisposition. We start identifying those.
Yeah. So it's kind of the roadmap, right? The idea that the human roadmap is in the DNA, and genetics covers that. So that's a real big advancement in genetics. But you know, some cynical people might say, well, the hype hasn't quite lived up to reality. We spent a couple of $1 billion sequencing the complete human genome, and we're not able to understand every disease that humans have. You know, we've kind of come up a little bit short. We can't explain a lot of things. We can't explain why each of us look different, you know, why we're a certain size, why we're certain, you know, all sorts of personal characteristics. There's a lot of things that we really didn't quite understand, even though we've sequenced the entire human genome. Anyway, genetics doesn't stand alone, right? It needs other disciplines, and such things like molecular biology. Molecular biology is a good one. You know, and it's associated partner biochemistry. So these are great studies because they look at the molecular level of molecules. You know, genetics specifies the DNA code, but then the DNA code, you know, is coding for RNA, and the RNA is organizing amino acids into proteins. And so you have these unique protein molecules, and some of the proteins are enzymes. So enzymes have specific activities. That's all molecular biology. How do these molecules work? How do they interact with each other? You know, and there's a strong connection to the genetics, to the DNA part of it, but you get a certain, you know, using this as a tool, you can express proteins at will using molecular biology. You can, what we call cloning the gene, right? We're just pulling out one gene. We're not cloning the person or the animal, just pulling out a gene, and then we work with that, and a lot of that's molecular biology, and it's an enhanced version of kind of what we could do with biochemistry earlier on. So that's been a real revolution. Molecular biology, you know, that gave rise to the biotechnology companies, really. You know, it's the beginning of biotechnology when you can clone a gene. You can pull out a gene and you can express it. And then you can make that gene a drug, that product. Tissue plasminogen activator. Anybody ever heard of that? I worked at Genentech, too. So when I was at Genentech, I was at Genentech for about 3 years, and I worked under Art Levinson, who became CEO of the company. And he's an interesting character and really well known in the biotechnology field. Currently, he's the chairman of the board of Genentech, which kind of puts him straight in administrative stuff. He's also chairman of the board of Apple Computer. So this guy's a real important figure in the Bay Area. Anyway, tissue plasminogen activator is one of the products of Genentech. And it was something, that molecular biology, they pulled out this gene. Well, they used that for heart attacks. So basically it can help dissolve a clot in the heart. And